All right. We are live, I believe. And I'm just going to get going right away. Usually I'll go through a couple of stories of what went on this week. I was sitting there. I'm like, I did a lot of stuff this week, but not really. I don't know. I don't have anything that interesting to talk about. All right. What we're doing today, you could probably tell from the title, is we're going to look at Ableton devices I've never used before. I use Ableton Live a lot and pretty well every day. And I'm realizing once in a while I'll see a device and I'll realize I've never even noticed it before, or it's something that I forgot about, that maybe it was mentioned in an update for Ableton Live, and I was all excited about it before it came out, and I never really had a chance to throw it on any of these projects. So I'm going to look through and see if there's anything interesting. Now, there's a few different ways we can approach this, and I haven't figured out yet which one is the best. One of them is to go through this track that I'm working on and try to add stuff to it with some of these devices. And the other way is to just do a blank project and try each device on its own. I think it'll just sort of develop naturally, where we'll see if it works either with the track or if we're just going to go and look at specific devices and just use them from scratch and just see what they sound like. So this is a track that we're going to possibly use, and it's a deep house track. It's not mastered, it's not mixed or anything. So I'm still working on this one. So this is the main part of the track that I want to look at, and there's something a little too harsh in the high end that there's something I'm not liking in there, and I was actually going to remove some stuff or fix it up before, but I figured it might be just best to do that while you guys are here. And maybe we'll find one of these devices that I've never used that will be useful for this. So I'm just loading up the chat. And by the way, if you've been to one of my live streams before, once in a while, the chat messages, for some reason, they don't show up normally. So I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat. But if ever you're writing something and I don't reply, I'm not ignoring you. It might be that they don't show up. Once in a while, I'll look in the YouTube analytics afterwards, and I'll notice there were a bunch of chat messages that I never saw. And actually, I keep remembering to change it to live chat instead of top chat. But even then, sometimes they don't show up. But anyways, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you chatting. If you have any questions, anything about these devices, if you've used these before, and that you want to let me know that I should be trying in here. We might look at on some of these. We might look at some presets just to get us started and see what they are. Well, we'll find out what we've got to play with. I actually, I haven't loaded up the list yet. I guess we'll start with the sounds. See, I'm starting. No, okay. We'll see if we can add some stuff onto this track, but okay, we'll remove this. I was actually going to put a mastering meter over here, and I decided not to. So that's that's what I was trying to search for, the meter on this main channel here, but we won't need it for now. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know about this in Ableton Live, but there's this, if you click here on this bar here that says name, it won't work if you do here. It'll just bring up your stuff about this sample. But if you go on this bar here itself, where you've got name, you can put it in order, in alphabetical order or whatever. If you right click here, you've got rank, and this will give you, actually not on sounds, but let's do instruments. See, it'll give you the ranking of how often you use a certain device. The thing is, it's not always that accurate, because I've noticed a few of them that I use relatively regularly that weren't showing up on here, but it'll give you a good idea of what you're using. See, Meld, that's a weird thing. Like, I haven't used Meld that much, and it's showing up at the top. I use Simpler and Drum Rack in every track. I use these in multiple tracks. Like, these should be at the top. So it's not exact. Granulator 3, I've played around with a little bit, but even that one would have been one that I'd consider I've never used. I tried it a little bit when it came out, but Operator I used a little bit. And these DS, well, look at these DS plugins or devices a bit later, because these are really useful. And a lot of people don't know they're around. I actually have a video planned specifically about these, but we'll look at them. So if you can do rank the same way you can do alphabetical order, but you can obviously do the reverse order, right? So if we do here, these are all the ones that I've never used technically, but a lot of them I've used on an older computer, and some of these I've used before on here. I know I've used Drift, but anyway, so we've got rank here, and then I think when we do it on, we're going to do the audio effects, I think you might have to set it up on each of them. I did turn this one on. So we're going to do the same thing. So these are the ones, EQ8, absolutely, I use the most. Auto filter, compressor, the drum bus, limiter, gate, auto pan. So you see, these make sense. Like, these seem pretty accurate. And so we'll go in the reverse order. The amp, yeah, I've probably never used that. And there's a way, right? I think you have to use, I remember using it at one point. I was like, it sounds horrible. And then I realized that you have to use the amp with the cabinet. So, but I don't remember which order it is. So we might have to check that. And then the audio effect rack I use regularly. It basically is not really a device on its own. It's basically a group of devices that you can save. So that one we won't bother with. Beat repeat. I've used that. I've had it in a project a few times, but not like, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. I've had it show up in projects, or I've added it to something and I was able to do something with it quickly, but I never really sat there and looked at the device. So the cabinet, the channel EQ, see, and even this, like the chorus, I've used the chorus quite a bit before, but since they switched it to now, isn't it the chorus and the phaser flanger? Oh no, that might be a different one actually. But I actually haven't used this in a long time. I'm not a huge fan, and you might have heard me mention this before. Chorus and the flanger and the phaser are three effects that people love, and I just can't get into them. The flanger I'll use a little bit once in a while, just because if you don't know what the concept of a flanger is it used to be with reel-to-reel machines. No, there were other ways to do it, but one way that you could get that sound was you'd have two reel-to-reel machines playing the same tape, and you'd have the two turning at exactly the same point. You'd start them, they'd be exactly together, and then you just hit the reel on one of them just a little bit, and it would just move it a little bit back, so they'd just be out of phase, which is, what it is right now. So I'm guessing it would be the phaser would be more of that effect. But anyways, it's all the same family of effects where, you used to have to do it with two reel-to-reels. It was a whole lot of work. And then you had to have a third reel-to-reel or third something to record it, right? Because if you were doing that effect, you needed two for the actual effect. And then you needed, a third one to be actually, doing the recording of it. So it was a whole lot of work, where now we can just hit a plugin and it does it. So, okay. So anyways, the color limiter, I don't even know what that is. I'm assuming it's a limiter that has, a little bit of a coloring to it, but like, is it even, I guess we can just load it up. I don't even, okay, we might look at that. Actually, we might be able to look at that right now. And then, yeah, we'll go through all these anyways. But, and there are a few, like, this vinyl distortion I really want to try later on too. I noticed at one point, there we go, the Convolution Reverb Pro I use regularly. Like, I have no idea why it's not showing up in the ranking, but anyways, Convolution Reverb I don't use as much anymore because it's the old version of it. But yeah, so let's just see what this color limiter does. And so we're on the main here. Oh, sorry about your ears. And okay, so this is basically the threshold. I'm just gonna bring it in a little bit. Let me bring the saturation up. Okay, that sounds very distorted, and so we'll remove a lot of the saturation. I guess a little goes a long way. Notice it more. It does have a really nice... It does have a nice little saturation sound. Like, if you use just a little bit, I don't know if we can tell it makes it warmer. I find it's compressing it a little bit too much, so we'll might move this. So what we're going to do here is remove this loudness completely. And I wonder if we just do the saturation. Yeah, we really have to keep this really low. I'm not sure how much I love it. Oh, here we go. The color. I hadn't even noticed this knob here. Is this a little bit brighter maybe? Let's do yeah, that's what. Okay. It does have a little bit of a tape feel, like those tape plugins. And one thing with tape plugins too, and that's basically what this is doing in a way, it's adding the limiting part of it, but the saturation has a little, is basically what a lot of these tape plugins do. But a lot of them are really, really heavy on the CPU. And I don't think this one, or is it? I'm just looking here. Oh, see, we remove it, we're still at 14-15%. So it's not really adding much CPU wise, but it's giving it a... I'll have to keep trying this one out. Okay, so let's go to the beginning here. Actually, yeah, I've been wanting to ask ChatGPT, sometimes just quicker. We want amp and cabinet devices in Ableton Live. This is on my second screen. You won't be able to see it, but which goes first? I believe it's the amp because the cabinet's probably recording it, but there we go. Yeah. So the amp shapes the tone and the cabinet simulates the sound of the speaker cabinet. So, and then otherwise the cabinet will shape the sound first and then the amp will distort the already. Okay. That's what I thought. So I'm wondering what we could use it on here. I might end up just going between a couple of these, like these two tracks. The one that's an actual song, and then this other one that I just created that's just an empty an empty track. So let's just see what it sounds like with a, we'll do a guitar. Just find a loop of a guitar just to, this one will work. So we'll just throw it on any of these, the audio here. So we're going to go to back to the audio effects, and so we're going to throw an amp on here, and then this one sounds like it's an electric guitar already, so it's already been processed, but just to get an idea of what we're doing. And that's what happens with a lot of these is you'll load just the amp or just the cabinet and it just doesn't sound right because they're meant to be used together, right? I'm going to bring this down because... Okay, so let's go to the amp and just choose discrete. I want something that's not just the high end, like rhythm funk might work. No. Rock all 10, so everything's thrown up. There we go. Marshmallows. That might be. Okay, so this is without the cabinet, and then, yeah, the cabinet we want to, maybe not the bass, but want a larger cabinet. Oh, I hadn't realized that you can have the microphone closer and further away. So the theory behind it, I have an amp here, but I don't know if you guys can tell, but so technically, if you were to take this amp here, and if we're using this microphone here, this simulates basically having the microphone right in front of it, and having the amp. I don't know how far they're going away, but they say far, so basically probably a few feet away. So you're picking up a little bit more of the ambient sound of it, but I like that you can change the speaker, and I like some of these speakers sometimes can be good, even on vocals. If you want an effect where you're singing and then you throw this on to one of these smaller speakers here, and have your voice, basically you're doubling your voice, but with this effect, it would sound like if you're doing this, you just do a couple of takes of your vocals and then use this on one of them. It could sound really good where you mix it in with your regular vocal and you're basically doing sort of a parallel processing type thing, but have this really this really distorted sound, and really it's almost lo-fi, but you're not bit crushing it, but it's got that sort of feel. Anyways, it could be good for some vocals. And then so basically, actually, I find it sounds good even without the cabinet, but that sounds, this boost sounds really nice. And then we can have a clean signal here and then use this one. So they're basic effects for guitar, but they can sound good. Like I said, you can use them on other stuff as well. Oh, and by the way, I've been wanting to try this. If you guys ever have a chance to try it, I was watching a TikTok video that did this effect. It's just this reminds me of it. They basically, there we go. They took their guitar and they started singing right here where the pickups are. And I'll have to do it at some point. I think I'm going to record it at some point. They did some screaming right here. And the way it picked it up, which makes sense, right? Like these pickups are just picking up the sound, the vibration from the guitar. So your voice is the same thing. Your voice vibrates. And anyways, if you yell right there and record it, it actually, first of all, the signal was louder than I would have expected, and it sounded really good. Especially again if you're blending it in with your main vocal, you get some interesting effects out of it. So, anyways, it's something you can try. And if you do try it, let me know in the comments if it worked, because I don't know. Like on this video, I don't know if they spent hours preparing it a certain way or if it just works as is. So anyways, I'll have to try that at some point. So anyways, okay, so that's the amp and the cabinet. Let's go back here. Oh, see, that's interesting. I was trying to figure out where we were. It actually moved them away because we've used them already. We've used them now, so I'm assuming they show up somewhere further down this list. Yeah, see? So they're ranking now. So, which is sort of interesting because it's sort of like, I don't know if you've ever noticed on your sound library, if you've got some samples that you've never listened to, let's just, actually, no, these are kits, so that won't work. But let's say we go to this. And you can tell it's got a little check mark. These are sounds that you've actually listened to, and it'll create just a small file in there with the warping and whatever it is for that sample. See, it just added it for this one. But it's sort of the same way. It's sort of interesting because with these, a lot of the time you can tell which sounds you've never even, if you've got some sample packs of their sounds in there you've never used at all. You can find out which ones you've never used because they don't have that check mark. And this is sort of the same thing. So it's sort of interesting. The auto effect rack, like I said, we'll skip that one because it's not really a device. It's just groups of devices. Beat repeat. So how do we do that? I think I might throw it on. Okay, I'm going to throw it here. We'll throw it on percussion, and then we're going to go to, I don't know, we'll just find a random drum kit that's got. I want something that's too rock oriented, like, okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, this could be good. Okay, so we'll throw that on here. And so I'm not sure if we need to have, okay, it does nothing if I just hit one. Oh, let's just solo this. So if we hit play, it's not really doing anything yet. So let's go to, or actually, you know, if we go here to the audio effects, be repeat got moved down now. Yeah, so we'll just find one of these presets and see what. Okay, you notice it did a little something, but we might need to get a little bit of a pattern. So I'll just do. I heard something. I like this. This is just the kick drum. I'm not sure that I love this kick drum itself, but that has nothing to do with the beat repeat. Let's just I'll just make it shorter. And I'm noticing here okay, there we go. Remove a little bit of the decay. You can tell just this has a little bit of a beat. But the interesting thing is, I mean, going to use this. First of all, the patterns aren't all the same. You can tell it changes a little bit over time. It's got a little bit of randomness to it. But the interesting thing is, I don't know, can we do... trying to find a mix knob on here. Because if we were to solo this, you can tell the beats that it's repeating, it's not using the whole frequencies. So it's, if you were to use this in a track, it's not throwing a bass drum all over the place and just, which would make it, if you listen to these repeating, if they were all like hard kick drums, it wouldn't sound right. There'd be too much going on. But it's actually, I'm assuming it's this here. If we filter. Yeah, see? So that's too much. But with this filter, it's basically just filtering the stuff that it's adding. I like this. I'm just going to find where the... It's not really a snare, but I want to hear what it adds to that. Okay, and we're just going to find, there we go. And we're going to do an accent on these. Okay. Get a little bit of swing. Oh yeah, that might be a little bit too much on the whole. It does make some interesting little fills. Let's try a different preset here. Oh, that sounded good. That sounded interesting. Little trills going on, but and I love that it's not too much. It's like, obviously the chance here we can throw it in where it's doing it all the time. This is interesting too. I wouldn't use it on the whole loop like this, but or maybe have it on the whole thing, but just have this really, really low. Let's see what it... Yeah, we can't really... Maybe if we go to like 30%. That's interesting. It almost sounds like... It almost sounds human. Because every little while it'll just add a little bit. And then I'm not sure what this repeat is. Oh, so you can have, I'm assuming this is no triplets. Not really noticing it doing a whole lot here. Oh, now we're starting to sound weird. Is it just me, or it's not doing anything anymore? I even had to look to see if it's even on. Okay, let's try a few presets. I'm not sure what, I must have changed something at some point that... This is an interesting little effect. This one's called Vocal Fun. I'm not sure what it's supposed to... This is interesting because it's not just adding to it, it's actually removing some stuff, right? If you look, that kick is disappearing. Right now the kick's on every beat, and then... Very interesting. And then if we were to remove the kick from it altogether, so this is our top loop basically, everything except for the kick. And then if we remove this, So this has a little bit more of a groove to it, obviously, but even if we bring the chance down a little bit, this one's letting you have a little bit of the groove going through, but yeah, this is an interesting one. We'll have to try this again at some point. Okay, so let's go back here. Channel EQ, that's what I was wondering about is, it's basically, did they rename the EQ? Oh no, EQ3. I thought this might be the new EQ3. These are basically the same, but this is an upgraded version. Like, so you've got in Ableton Live, you've got the EQ3, you've got the EQ8, and then you've got this channel EQ apparently. And it almost feels like, see, this is the baby, this is the teenager, this is the adult. So you've got the excuse me, you've got the you're able to see basically a spectrum analyzer in here, which you can't see in here. And I'm assuming this one here is basically a version of the SSL channel. Not really the channel. There's a there we go, SSL EQ. I'm assuming, let's throw this one here. Actually, no, not this one. That's a weird thing with Waves plugins is with Ableton Live, they're not officially supported on the AU version if you're using a Mac. And what I've done here is I usually use the AU version for plugins. So basically when I install a new plugin, I'll put this color here as purple, which I know that's the one between the two. These have different names, but usually they have the same, excuse me, they have the same name usually. And you're able to, like here, the LMC plus, this is the VST, the VST, the AU, VST, and yeah, this is the actual SSL one. So, okay, this is confusing. Yeah, so basically, usually I use the AU, so you can tell this is the AU version that has the purple. But with Waves, it's the opposite. It's VST that you have to use. And they will still work if you use the AU version, but once in a while, it'll be something weird, like the VU meters won't work or something. So anyways, I always have to remember to use the... But yeah, okay, so I thought I was using the Waves one. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, we are using the Waves one. Okay. It's been a long week, can you tell? So I'm assuming this is a little bit the equivalent of this. It's basically the whole channel EQ part of it is an EQ that you don't necessarily use on your whole... on the master, even though on the main, but you can if you want to use it on your 2 bus. But it's just a regular EQ, and it's basically part of what you'd have in a channel strip, where you'd have the compressor, you'd have everything, but it's just that EQ part of. Well, might as well load it up here. SSL. So I'm wondering too, see, because this is the SSL channel. So it's basically like this part here, which is the EQ part of it. But even then, I don't even know if that's why they call it a channel EQ. I guess we could look it up, but it's just an EQ. We have so many of them that I'm not going to worry too much about what this one does, but it might be good for quick stuff if you just want to filter out the lows or something. Oh, but see, it really only has this. Okay, so this is where you can bring the frequency that you want, but it seems like it's only got the high pass, and I'm wondering. Can you switch? So we've got this for the lows. Does it have anything for these other ones? I don't know. I don't know what the best use of this would be, but I tend to use just the EQ8, which is so easy to work with, and then you're able to have this, basically the high pass everything, but you're able to have the very, very steep curve and everything. So, and the Q, which this wouldn't have. Okay, there's got to be, you know what, let's find out. We'll do Ableton Live Manual. What was it called? Channel EQ? Channel EQ. And channel EQ. Let's search in here. Okay, here we go. Inspired by, there we go, on classic mixing desks, like, you know, that would include the SSL, that type of thing. Simply a flexible 3-band EQ. Okay, so this is basically just a high pass switch. Okay, so this is, yeah, so we don't have it for the other, where is it? It's this one here. So this is basically just to get rid of the rumble if in the really low frequencies. So, okay, so we can switch for this where we want, but the lowest is at 120 because that curve isn't very, very steep. So anyways, okay, that could be useful, I guess, if you just want a quick thing. Low parameter controls the gain. Okay, so the low is automatically at 100 hertz. The mid is 120 to 7500. So the mid would be, what do they say? 120 to 75. So basically here to about here. But why is it affecting still? Oh, probably because of this here. Let's remove this altogether. Oh, okay. Okay, I see it here. So if we have this, but how do we switch? Oh, so you can actually choose your frequency. But how do we switch? It just, weren't we dealing with low earlier and then, oh no, maybe it is just the mid. I hadn't noticed that. Okay. That we can adjust, and then the other one is just going to be a high shelf. So it's basically just bringing everything above, which frequency did they say? Okay. Yeah, so anyways, we're dealing with the high end here. So anyways, I don't know how useful this will be, but hey, we never know. Let's go back to the top of the list here. Chorus ensemble. Why not? Let's try it on drums. We don't usually use that on drums, but why isn't it going anymore? Okay, we're going to get rid of all of these EQs. And why isn't this going anymore? Oh, did we lose our, we lost our pattern. I'm not sure what I did, but What is going on? Oh, because we have the kick muted. And then I'm trying to remember what we had. I think we had this going. We're gonna remove the accent on here though. There we go. This is the one we had. And we'll have the accent. Okay, that's pretty close to what we had, and then we'll quantize it a little bit of groove, just give it a little bit of a feel. Okay. Not sure when that got deleted, but whatever. Of course, typically you wouldn't put this on drums, even though you can. But yeah, it's chorus. Oh, hold on a sec. I just noticed here vibrato. Okay, let's do this right. I'm just gonna do a. I'm just gonna do a chord here. Ooh, sorry about that. And let's just choose a pad. I'll just go with one of the. Ah, it was loud and not at all what we want. Oh, this one will work. So we'll just do and then we'll go find that chorus that we had, that we'd thrown on the drums, which really wasn't working. Well, it wasn't working for it. But the interesting thing I noticed here is this vibrato. Okay, it's a little too strong, but so we'll bring the rate up a little bit, but the amount way down. What I want to try actually is if we move this, yeah, it's just moving the speed. So in theory, we could go here, get an LFO in the, where is the LFO? Oh, here we go. We throw the LFO here. And then what we're going to do is, why does it take so long? So we're going to map that to the rate. And then we're going to go here and have random. Actually, no, random is going to be a little too... because a random ends up being too much of a square, like it just jumps. But so obviously we wouldn't want it like this, but so you can tell where it's moving all over the place. But if we bring this depth down, so what's happening now is we have the rate, like the rate is doing its work by bringing it up and down, but this rate here is actually affecting this one here. So as this one's moving up and down relatively steadily, this one here is moving it in different ways. Might be able to tell. Hold on. If we go to, so if we remove this one here, it's just very, very steady. And then if we have this, you can tell it throws it a little bit off. So between these two, obviously this is way more than we'd ever want. But even if we go really, really low with this one, bring this one really slow as well, and then the depth is slow. It just gives it a little bit of a, I don't know, it's just a little bit off, right? Might even be a little bit too much still with this, but anyways, it's stuff we could do with a vibrato. I didn't know that had that. What does this ensemble do? Oh. So if we turn this on now with the ensemble, which I'm assuming the ensemble is sort of a unison where it's mixing that movement in 3 different ways. So if we go to here, if we go. Okay, if we remove this LFO, just see what we have. Yeah, this is basically built-in unison, right? Which we could do right in the synth. And just bring this unison up and just detune it a little bit, but this will actually have a little bit of movement to it, so it's interesting to see this pattern. This is another one. I've used the LFO, but I've never used this pattern here, the waveform. You know, if these here are just very steady waveforms, and then you've got the up, which is basically like a sawtooth, and then the down and the square. So this is the same thing you'd see on a synth, where you can sort of tell it's chopping on and off. And then we bring the rate. So these square ones, I find they hit too much. Like here, if we go back to the vibrato. Oh, it's sort of interesting in a way, but that's not what we're looking for. But anyways, yeah, I've never noticed. I think these might be new. The bin, stray, and glider. I've never seen these before. I don't know what bin is. It's sort of an interesting sound. Not on, you wouldn't use this as is in a track, but might be something where you'd be able to chop stuff up, or if you had a bass sound going through this, you might be able to get some interesting sounds out of it. Yeah, see, this is obviously way too much. I'm wondering if this one might be even better than the original one. Here, we'll just bring this rate way down as well. See, it's just giving it a little bit of a detuned sound. If we remove both of these, it does have a little bit of movement on its own, but this will help us exaggerate it a little bit. Actually sounded for a second a little bit like the beginning of Let's Go Crazy, I think, from Prince. One of the Prince songs. There he goes. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today. Anyways, okay, so that is the LFO and the chorus. And yeah, we'll go back here. We'll get rid of these here. Okay, so convolution reverb. I've used it a bunch of times. If you haven't used this, you really should be using it on a lot of your projects. It's a fantastic reverb. If you don't know what convolution reverb is, it basically lets you use impulse responses. So you could record, or you can find somebody who's recorded in a specific cathedral. And if you want to have not just the feel of a cathedral, it'll be that. Actually, this one has, here we go, real places. And if we go, there we go, St. Paul's Hall, St. Patrick's Church. So you're able to get, actually here, it had St. Albans Cathedral. So if you want to know what that, when you stop it, you can really tell. If we don't have this on, just stop straight. There's actually no decay at all. And you can change to a German large church. And then these are real places, but you can use plates. You can do, and you can record your own impulse responses, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. You can buy so many of them, and yeah, like you can. Basically, when I moved into to this apartment, I remember sitting there, and there was no furniture yet, and I wanted to record that space. I was like, if I could sing and just have the space recorded, and I don't even know if I'd ever heard of impulse responses at the time, but I'd heard of them, but I didn't really understand how they worked. But basically, you could record an impulse response there or in your shower. If you find that it sounds great when you're singing in the shower, you can literally record that space and then throw the space onto this convolution reverb. So anyways, I won't play around with this one too much because I have used it before, and I remember my title is what was my title? Yeah, finding devices I've never used before. Okay, Corpus, I don't even remember what this is, and I remember hearing about it, and so it's going to be an effect. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go remove a lot of these. So should we go back here? Okay, so the Corpus effect. Yeah, I'm using Ableton Live Suite, and they mentioned that it's not available in the intro, the standard, or light. So I guess it's only available in Suite. And there might be a few of these, even Beat Repeat that I used earlier. I think that's a Max for Live device, and you can tell these here are Max for Live devices because they have you can sort of tell, like, instead of being more of a square, it's got the cable connections coming out of it. Anyways, those you may not have access to it if you're using a more basic version of Ableton Live, but still interesting, still useful to see what I guess see what you're missing, and know about these if you're planning on upgrading at some point. See what some of these do. I don't like the sound of this so far, but okay, bright snare. Let's just do this. We'll go here, and I mean this. Yeah. Okay, this is a snare here, and then this is a snare here. Okay, so let's throw it on. We'll throw it on this one here, even without knowing what it does. Let's just throw. That is interesting. It gives it a completely different feel. And wow, you can really change the sound, and it doesn't sound like I was expecting this. Even without knowing, it seems like there's it's some sort of resonator, but I was expecting it to sound really, sounds silly, like a resonator, where it just rings almost, but that's not it. Like, this sounds like a natural sound. It actually what this sounds like is if you're hitting a window and you're listening to it on the other side. But okay, the Corpus simulates the acoustic characteristics of 7 types of resonant objects. Physical modeling technology, wide range. That's the thing. Like, it's funny because that's the thing. That's what I was saying. It sounds like a real. It sounds like it sounds real. Like it doesn't sound just like a digital mess or anything. So, okay, so we've got these. While we're there, let's just change some of these. That's sort of weird. So this is a sound itself. Yeah, so you've got the decay here. For sound design, you could really do some interesting stuff with this. Oh, and the dry wet. Oh, I love this. But I want to see what it'll sound on this hi-hat, actually, because... So what we're going to do is just remove it. Okay, where were we? There we go. I'm just going to remove it here. And then we're going to add this to the hi-hat because I want to see if it can, with the pattern. So if we remove it, okay, so it's just the hi-hat on its own. And I want to remove some of this. So we brought the dry wet down, so it's got a mix of the two. It's got an interesting sound, but it doesn't seem to have that decay thing going. Might be because we have, it might just be getting lost in the shuffle. Where was it? This one here. If we go back to the dry wet, yeah. Oh, this is sort of interesting. I'm trying to find where that delay came from. Not the delay, but see, sometimes I hit it and it's playing a whole bunch of them. But when we play the pattern, it's just doing it normally. Okay, the spread, so we're widening it a little bit. But even if we were to add it just a little bit, we'll just solo this. Okay, so this is where it gets more resonant and more artificial. Okay, if we go back to without it, just adding a little bit of a, it's almost melodic, it's almost musical. Okay, we'll remove this. Let's hear it in context with the, this kick drum is way too loud. Okay, so now that it's in context, let's see if we remove this. I can tell a little bit of a difference when it comes back on. Higher we go, but I don't know. I don't know if I like it necessarily on this. It might have been better on our snare that we had earlier. That's why it's not doing anything. We don't have it. Yeah, I don't like the repeat every time, but so this is without. It's a little too much, but actually, even if we, okay, let's pretend this isn't a snare. This could be a really interesting, I like the sound actually. This could be a really interesting sound in just on its own. Interesting. Okay, so anyways, that's the corpus. Oh, hold on. Kick loose. Let's try something on the kick. Let's do kick medium. Out of here. Oh. That really brings out that kick, but A little too much. Boy, you can really feel it though. Huh. Wonder if we do a little bit of there we go. Whoa. Interesting. That really brings it out. You can feel that. I mean, I don't know what how these will affect it. Even the plate does, but so this is basically the pipe here is you're basically getting just the resonance, especially if we go to, and you'll get that if you throw some effects sometimes on a kick drum, you'll get this effect afterwards. Wonder, there we go, we can tune this. So you can tune it to your kick, whichever frequency you're using on your kick, you can get this resonance. Oh, interesting. And then if we go this way, you can get some interesting sounds out of it. This is an interesting little plugin or device. Are they plugins? They're basically plugins, but they're the built-in plugins in Ableton. But okay, so I want to get rid of what we've just. Okay, we got rid of it there, and then was this the other hi-hat we had? No. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we've got all of those taken out. So let's look at something else. Why is that snare so loud though? I don't really like this snare actually. I prefer it like this. Okay, so CV clock in, CV clock out. That's all stuff that you can use for with external gear, I believe. And the envelope follower, or no, it may not be external gear, but you can control the CV on different devices. But I'm not even gonna go through those. But you have a whole bunch of those. Dynamic tube. What is this? So we'll go to let's just do a preset. Okay, we'll go to broken tube. It's a good way to tell sometimes how what a plugin does is to go to the extreme. Okay, so that's what we're looking at here is the extreme. Okay, dry wet is here. So I'll give it a little bit. It's a little bit of distortion. Probably get some warmth out of it too. Hot driven tape. There we go. That's what we'd be. You don't really tell a huge difference, but so this is basically dynamic tube. Let's look here. I'm assuming this is basically that's basically what it is. It's a little bit of a tape saturation type thing. Infuses sounds, tube saturation, and 3 tube models, A, B, and C. So we'll try switching those around. Okay. And it's not extreme. You can tell this one here, like this, the dry wet is at 100%. If we remove it, even if you've got headphones on or you're on listening on good monitors, you won't notice a big difference. It's adding a little bit of more. Let's see. The drive too high. It's just making it distorted. Adjust the bias. I'm I'm assuming this is the release for the distortion itself. Let's go back to Broken Tube. We can probably tell more of a difference here. So this is making the effect a little bit more pronounced. Probably if we go here. Yeah, so you're getting almost just the effect. And then we're just getting a mix. Okay. That's sort of weird. When we bring the drive way down, you can tell that kick, just that decay on the kick is more pronounced. Okay, interesting. So there aren't a whole lot of presets on this. Tube trash, so this is just extreme settings. Warm tube is probably what we're... You don't notice a huge difference, but possibly a little bit warmer. Anyways, okay, so that's the what do we call dynamic tube? I haven't found one yet that I'm going to be using this on every project, but envelope follower, yeah, this one is, you can basically use it, from what I understand, as you can tell, okay, you can tell the sound that's coming through here. You can use this to control something else. So you can tell when there's a signal coming in, it'll move something else, like okay, here, we'll just go with we'll just do an auto filter. All right, okay, there we go. Auto filter. So if we do an auto filter here, and we just map this to the frequency, you can tell every time the signal comes in, the frequency will go up. And you can tell just here where it's just going up every time it goes. Hey, Rage64, I gave up studying Ableton in 2016. Last I heard, Cycling 74's Max for Live was pretty good. Yeah, Max for Live is amazing. It actually is really, really useful. You don't really think about it at the beginning because it feels just complicated, and it used to be really slow. Now they've integrated it a lot more into the main version of Ableton Live, so it loads a little bit more quickly when you're using stuff. But you can do so much. Like, it's probably like once a week. I don't actually sit there and do them, but there's probably at least once a week I'll sit there and I'll think, I could do that in Max for Live. Like, you can get it to do almost anything. Like, I saw something the other day. Somebody was trying to figure out how to, I think it was, they wanted a way to reset all of their macros to 0. And the first thing I thought of is, like, yeah, you could go in Max for Live and just create a button, and you press a button and it'll do a whole bunch of stuff in your devices. So there's that. And also, one thing that I've been wanting to look at is you can actually get it to connect to the internet. So you could technically, that was something else that I thought of lately. Somebody was wondering if when they did a live stream, if they could get people to control stuff on their DAW. Like, basically, you could be sitting there and saying, yeah, I want to change the BPM of your track. And they were like, how would you do that? And I'm sure you could find a way to do it in Max for Live where it would connect to the server, and people are making changes on your website, and then it would just connect to it and get whatever the new amount is. Like, there's a lot of stuff you could do in Max for Live. I use it for randomizing stuff a lot of the time. If you want to randomize specific settings or whatever, anything that involves math, and it's just so well integrated into Ableton Live that you can do you can get it to control a whole bunch of stuff in Ableton Live. So yeah, it's definitely, and if you stopped in 2016, that's what, 8 years ago, Ableton Live moved ahead quite a bit since then. There's so many new devices in it that I think you'll have fun if you ever come back to it. And which DAW are you using now? Are you not really doing music too much anymore, or yeah, because I'm trying to think of which version would have been in 2016, but let's find out. Because I remember 9.5 being a big update. Ableton 9.5 release date, I guess. And if you were before then, oh no, that was 2015. So you at least got you got a little bit of the fun from it, from whichever version you were using. But yeah, they added a whole bunch of stuff since then. And okay, so that's basically what this envelope follower does. Is you can use it to control other stuff based on the sound that's coming in, and you can have it more extreme. So if we remove this filter, it's just going through, but you could have it control the resonance as well. I'm assuming. That might actually be a bit more of an interesting sound. Let's just see if we have it down low. Yeah, because we're affecting the whole signal. So we'll bring the frequency up. Oh, you can adjust as well how quick it goes in and out. So this is basically the attack and the release. So this would be the rise would be the attack, where if we bring it up, it's a lot smoother. But then that might make it interesting as well. Yeah, you can get some interesting sounds out of this. So anyways, that's the envelope follower. It can be useful for some stuff. It does a little bit of what you'd be using these here, but it does it based on the input. Like you can deal with stuff from the filter or whatever, like you would in a synth. But yeah, it's you're doing it based on whatever the incoming signal is. Okay, so we remove that. Let's get rid of this. I wanted to use some of these on that track I've been working on. Let's see which ones are coming up now. I want to get through. Like these will take forever. Okay, we won't do all of these. This one I've been wanting to try, but this one we're going to try it on that track. So I'm going to go back to that, and it's a vinyl distortion. Let's look at their description of it. Vinyl distortion, there we go. Emulates the distortions that occur on vinyl records. I loaded this before, but for a very, very short time. Hoping that wasn't too loud. I'm noticing the bass in here is a little distorted, but okay. So what could we use it on? I guess we could just use it on this here, which is just the chords. And where did I did I lose it already? There we go. Vinyl distortion. One thing I noticed, I never really used this, but I loaded it up real quickly at the beginning to see if it was doing what I wanted it to do. And I've been wanting to get vinyl crackle sound. And I was a DJ for a whole bunch of years. I did radio stuff, and I listened to so many records that I noticed there's a pattern when the crackling goes. And I've been looking for that perfect vinyl crackle plugin, and none of them do it perfectly. There's a few of them that are pretty close. There's one from Plugin Alliance. I haven't used it in a while. That will do the job, but there are two things with the crackling. You want to have that crackling so it sounds real. There's randomness to it. But if you listen to a vinyl record that's really scratched, you'll notice there's a pattern. It's not completely random. Like, you'll have a scratch going through, and the timing is like, you get used to the timing over time, where every time the record goes around the whole time, you'll end up having, there might be a scratch. It'll be like ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And I always hope that these plugins will have that, a little bit of a pattern, not just the randomness. And I haven't been able to find that at all. But there's something else that these plugins have to have for me to use them. It's that they work with the transport. So if we go to the crackling here, see, first of all, there's some randomness to it, but you can't tell a pattern. And like I said, it won't be like, the sound won't be exact. Like, it'll come in and then the scratch will go and it'll go ka-chunk, 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 and it'll like move away from it and then go, but you'll have little patterns in it. So this one doesn't have a pattern, but the thing I don't like about this is it doesn't have the transport. So this sounds interesting. It actually sounds pretty real, especially if we bring the volume down a little bit. But if I press stop and the crackling keeps going, and like, that makes it really tough to work with, because you have to turn it off every time you're working on your track. And if you're like me, when you're working on tracks, you're starting, stopping. So this doesn't work unless there's a way to do it in here, but I really don't think there is. I do like the sound of it, like, but I think the way you'd have to use it is to do this, and then I just record it, and then you're basically just printing it, right? So yeah, it's too bad it doesn't have the transport on here, because that would be really useful. Like, I wonder if I can find that one I was mentioning. I'm not sure if it's directly Plugin Alliance or is it Brainworks? I wonder if it's called. Well, I really haven't used it in a long time. It's not vinyl. I don't think it's Vinylizer. I'll know as soon as I see it, but no, it's not that one. But this is another one. See, that's the Vinylizer here. So we're gonna. Oh, actually, that removed the whole sound. I guess this one isn't an effect; it's an actual instrument. Man, what was it? Okay, it's got to be in here. Man, I wish I could find it, because it explains it really well, what I'm trying to do, but I don't. Oh, no, it's not Basement. Might be. Oh, Needlepoint. That's the one it is. So if we go here, you can tell already, and this one does a whole lot more. First of all, the spin down that I like. If we have the song playing, and then we hit spin down, it actually stops it like a record would. But so it's got the sound, but wow, it's been a while since I've used this one. So you've got the speed. I don't even know what broken does. Okay, so, and then it's, yeah, over here, the noise. Okay, so if we've got, let's just bring it way up. So this is the noise, and then the scratching sound is, wow, it really has. Okay, there's a way to get scratching sound in here, but that's not the point of this. So if we go to constant here, it's playing all the time, like nothing's playing now. But if I go to transport, let's have it. So you can tell this here. And then if I stop it, see, you can't tell that sound's there anymore. If we go back to constant, you can hear that sound. Here you'll be able to hear the sound when it's playing. You can tell that sound going through, but as soon as I hit stop, it stops, which is really nice to have. And yeah, so that's the one thing that it doesn't have in this Ableton one. I'm just going to get rid of this. This one here, yeah. So that's the one thing it doesn't have. So if the vinyl distortion is sort of annoying because it just doesn't stop. But anyways, if they added that though, I would use this. Like, I find the scratching sounds in here are better than a lot of other scratch crackle type plugins that I've used. So it does sound good. And then you've got your effects like on top of the volume and the density. Density is how scratch the record is, and should have okay. So this is just gives it a little bit of a different feel. Anyways, it sounds really good, especially when you're playing with music. And even if we were to play it on the whole track, actually, I don't like it as part of the whole track that loud, but I do like it specifically with the sound. And especially this track here, it's sort of loud and it gets quiet. So if we were to play the track, I'll bet you this is where you can really tell where it just slows down right here. And that's what you notice if you're listening to a vinyl record. You won't notice the scratches and stuff when it's loud. As soon as it gets more quiet, you can hear it. This does make it sound really natural though. I might throw it in here a little bit lower once I release this, but you can tell here. Like it really sounds real. That's why I find it sad that they didn't put the transport in here, but you could, yeah, I guess you could just turn it on in certain parts and like it makes all the difference if this is off and then with it really does sound real. Anyways, okay, so this is one, and see, that's the thing. Now it's really annoying, so we have to get rid of it. Okay, so I want to look at some of the instruments in here because we've been doing the effects, and yeah, I mentioned these earlier. Let's I'm going to go back to the empty track and use a couple of these effects. Drift I've actually used a little bit. I don't know why it's not showing up in this rank, but yeah, I have used this thing. Not a whole lot, but let's just load random preset in here. No, maybe not that one. Why is this so loud? So it does have some really nice... No, actually, this isn't... Is this even drift? Just load these here. Wow, you've got a whole lot of effects on here, but anyways, that's not it's not what we're looking for. So yeah, drift. I don't know if it counts as something I've never used because yeah, I have used this a little bit. It's showing up in the ranking now, so now we'll know. Bass. Yeah, I remember this, which is I like the idea of this. I love bass synths because they come up with interesting, just... You don't have the polyphony, you just have that one sound at a time. That sounds interesting. Let's just see what... This is a nice low end there. Okay, I have to sit there and use this a little bit more because it does have a nice does have a really nice sound. Not my favorite sound. Okay, so I actually forgot. I had forgotten completely that this was a thing. So there's a bass synth. Collision is one. Isn't that sort of what we used earlier? The corpus feels like it's close to this. Like it has this part here. So I'm guessing they put the resonator in. The same resonator as the other one. They just split it up that you can use it on other stuff. But this does have a nice sound. This sounds nice. That's a nice bell. This one's called Bell Random, and I'm wondering if, I think I'm hitting it a bunch of times. Actually, here, I'll do accent. Ooh, sorry about that. Okay, no, on accent, it seems sort of the same. So I'm assuming what it does is it's adjusting, it's playing around with the velocity because I'm hitting it exactly the same way. So sometimes it's louder, sometimes it's more quiet. So we can adjust this. I'm going to go to, maybe go back to this one. Is this the one we had earlier? The interesting thing with this is once you start to use this here, you basically know how to use the other one, the corpus we were looking at earlier, or the other way around. If you use corpus quite a bit, then you'll know exactly what to do with these, because these are really close. These are a little bit different, but it's using the same resonator. This does sound interesting. Let's do digital string. Just sounds like a normal synth. Why is this one taking? I was wondering why this one took so long to load, but hey, you don't even if you look, ma, no hands. You don't even need to play this thing. And the step divider, I've used a little tiny bit a few times, and I think there's a random on here. There we go. This. So you can change the pattern just like this. So you get a whole bunch of different sounds out of it. And then you can adjust these if you want. So anyways, okay. That's why it was taking a while to load. I think it was loading up a bunch of other stuff. It's called drone tapes. It's weird because if you think about it, this is all the same instrument. We just had 3 or 4 completely different sounds. You've got the bells with the patterns because it's got some other stuff mixed in there, like some other devices mixed in. This is a completely different sound, all from the same instrument. Yeah, see the collision is here. This one is a mix of the collision and operator, which is interesting. And I find it interesting that they actually put it in as like underneath collision, right? So you don't need to go into a completely separate folder that you'll never notice. Wow. And then, so this is the collision part of it, which again is completely different than the other sounds we had. Or no, sorry, that was the operator sound, and then this is the collision sound. Yeah, this is way different. You can tell they're using the plate resonator, and they're like, they've got the settings way up. 2 plate resonators. Anyways, that's really interesting. Electric piano dreamy. I have to keep going back and forth with these levels. It's the only thing that's sort of annoying. That does sound really nice. Okay, so collision is something worth looking into. And these are all those CV instruments again. Okay, this is what I was mentioning earlier, that a lot of people don't know that these are in Ableton Live. And it's basically a drum synth series of devices, and you can tell there should be the kick here somewhere. Why am I missing it? There's a clang, the clap, cymbal, FM, the hi-hat, the sampler, snare, tom. Okay, well there is probably, yeah, there we go. The DS, because I have it ranked by the ones I use the most. This one's further away. So, but just this kick, first of all, you can change the frequency so you can have it in key, and you can tell here, like it'll say this is an E, this is an A, so you can have it match your track, which is great instead of having a sample and then having to tune it up and down. But it can do a whole lot of stuff. Like this is the drive, the attack is removing that transient at the beginning, but you could imagine this in a big room track or some sort of a heavy bass track where you're getting rid of this click at the beginning. You could have a different kick and then just have this as sort of the resonance, but behind it, a lot of those tracks will use the kick drum as the bass. So in this case, you could basically be creating your bass, and it doesn't seem like it does much. Like it's really a few different. It's what, maybe, yeah, you've got 3 options. One of them is volume, which doesn't really count. I got these options here, But even though you don't have a whole lot that you can do, the decay will just make it shorter, so you won't have that. Here, if we bring the attack back down. So this will just be a very short kick or a longer kick. And so the envelope is basically that sort of the pitch, the quick pitching up and down that you have on the transient for your kick. So anyways, the kick is really interesting, but all of these, and I don't know why they're showing up as that I haven't used them, because some of these I have used on this. I know on the older computer it won't keep the analytics from it, but the hi-hat is really interesting. If you've been on my live streams before or watched my videos, you'll know for me, hi-hats are like, that's the thing that makes the track. So I just love that we can play around with these, and so you can get a completely different sound if you're basing it on white noise or pink noise. And it's basically pitching it up and down. Oh, this is interesting because you can make it sound almost like a shaker. It's not a shaker, but it's getting close. Is there a DS shaker? No, there isn't. But so if we go back, we'll remove this, where we go back to it being. So you can have a short, very short hi-hat. So this is basically a closed one here, an open one here. You've got the pitch and the tone. So the pitch is the pitch and how high the note is coming out of it. I'm assuming the tone is a little bit more, it's supposed to be more for shaping almost the EQ of it, but I actually feel like this one, I like what this one does to the sound. This difference is more than the other one. So anyways, so that's the hi-hat one. Go to the clap. I like this, where it's sloppiness. It's as if it's like three people clapping, not at the same time. And then you can have it really tight here, where it's like, and then the tail, which is basically the decay. So it sounds like it's in a bigger room or a smaller room. And okay, this is the tone here. Tell it's a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. Let's say the spread. Okay, here we go. So if you're listening to it on headphones, you can tell the spread is just the width, moving it left to right. And then you can tune it up and down. Have a larger room. The only thing I don't see on here is being able to have the number of people clapping. One of the plugins that I got actually pretty recently. I got two of them, and both of them do this. So this one, you can tell how many clappers you want. So you've got 8 people clapping, 1 person clapping. And that would be really nice to have on these, but let's go back with this one. But you can tell how, the sloppiness will help you. It'll sound like it's more people if you bring this up, but you could obviously put more than one instance of this one, but it would be nice to have just that one button to be able to choose a little bit more people clapping. So, okay, so let's go back here. Remove the clap. And so the cymbal will be more of a larger cymbal, like not like the not exactly like the hi-hat we had, though you can get a little bit of a hi-hat feel from it. Hi-hat is basically a cymbal, but yeah, so it's just, this will have a different sound. I don't love this one, but when you bring the tone down, it actually sounds pretty real, like not exactly realistic, but it does sound a little bit more realistic. DSFM, I haven't. I'm not even sure what we should be using this one for. It's sort of like a synth, but it's not adjusting, like it's not, you can't play it with like a synth. It's basically plays like a drum. It just has that one sound no matter where you are on your keyboard. So oh, that sort of sounds nice. I'm guessing, like, I guess you could use this as a bit as a resonator, especially if you were to take this and you wanted to get a little bit more low end. You can get some lows out of it. I don't know what we'd use this one for. Let's find out. DSFM. Ableton Live Manual DSFM. Let's see here. Okay, DS clang, clap, cymbal. Okay, FM. Inspired by classic Japanese FM synthesizer. The tone slider. Oh, okay. The low pass filter cut off. So I was doing it with this, but I'm guessing we can just do it from here. Okay, there we go. So the tone is the cutoff. That's probably what it was on the earlier DS ones we looked at as well. Feedback adjusts the amount of feedback. So it's I guess this could be useful for specific uses, but oh, I just noticed, I don't know why this is interesting, but if you click on this here, it will actually play the sound instead of the keyboard. So if you don't have a MIDI keyboard, that could be useful. So the sampler I've been wondering about too. Let's go here. The kick. So we did most of these. The sampler. Okay, so you take your own sample and make a drum synth module. So let's just go to. Oh no, that's not what we want. We'll go. Here we go. Let's do 707 and I don't know. So we'll do individual hits. Okay, let's take this one here. So okay, so this is sort of what Simpler does, where you can take your sound, you can it is sort of nice to be able to do that with the decay. So it's Simpler, you can do the same thing. You can adjust the input, or with the sampler anyways. So I'll do the whole thing, and you know what? I'm going to go to accent here and bring it down just a little bit, but oh, that's sort of interesting though, because this is the sound itself. So we can really change it quite a bit. Not sure what this loop button does. Maybe when we play it. Oh no, I'm guessing. Should be playing when it ends. No. Oh. Okay, now now we're talking. Now we're talking. So bring the start to 0. Does this work even without the loop on? Oh, okay. So I guess this is with the loop. It plays it. a whole bunch of times. Oh, this sounds nice though. Okay, let's just see. I just want to see with a pattern what we can make this one sound like. And this one will adjust. So it's not like the other one where different parts of the keyboard weren't doing anything. This one actually will do something. That does sound really interesting. I think once we've got the pattern, we can. So this is without the loop. You can tell the loop is just starting it. It's almost just building on it, but that's interesting how much we're able to do just with this one sound. Okay, so that could be an interesting one. Let's go back. I think we did most of these. So this is a tom that we didn't look at. So this one, as I go up and down the keyboard, it's not doing anything. So this one, we really have to adjust the tuning with this. That is interesting. So if we, this one I could see myself using just even as percussion. If you want a little bit of to add a little bit of percussion and moving around, especially in a deep house track or whatever. So, yeah. So, Impulse. I thought I'd used it. No, I haven't used this. I've seen it, but what does it do? All right, let's try this one. That sounds interesting. Okay, so these are okay. So this is sample start for all of them. So these macros affect all of the sounds. It's sort of interesting that we can do with. Okay, let's see what we're playing with here. Okay, it's just bringing these up. Oh, these are the max for live devices. So we need Impulse. And there we go. So this one here. Okay, so it's a drum sampler with modulation. Okay, so you've got your. Okay, so it's basically if you use Reason, the redrum, it feels a little similar to that, but this one I think deals a lot more with the modulation and stuff, so you can do more to the sound, like this sample stretch here. So, sort of nice that they have the reverb built in to this preset. Okay, so we can remove the decay. I'm trying to figure out if these are okay. So these are for the individual sounds. Okay, so you pick one of these, and there we've got this one here. So we can bring the decay. Okay, so these here are for the whole unit, and this is just macros built into the preset. This isn't part of this instrument. And then so you pick this one, you can adjust. Okay, that could be sort of fun to play with. I don't know, I might just end up using the drum rack. Okay, instrument rack again is just a bunch of, it's just a grouping. You can just save. I don't know if you know that you can do this, but if you want to save this and you've got this EQ that you really like on the sound, you can group these, and you can, there we go. Wait a second. Group these, and then if you do save, you can, or no, that's not where you do it, but you can just, there we go. Yeah, you do group, and there we go. And then you can save it here. So, okay, I think I'm getting to the end of this, I think, because I think I'll be falling asleep soon. Oh, we did 2 hours already? I feel like it's been like half an hour. What is this one, Polly? I'm assuming this is a synth, but oh, I was wondering why it was playing, but it's because we've got this this MIDI track playing from earlier. Okay, so I'm assuming this is just another synthesizer. I'll try a couple of the presets just to see what it sounds like. It does sound nice, though. Wow. Why isn't anybody talking about this thing? Okay, let's go see let's learn a little bit about that one. Wouldn't it be here? Oh, I'm wondering if this is... Yeah, see, this is from Max for Live Essentials. So if you don't have the suite version, you won't have access to this. But the Max for Live Essentials has a whole bunch. That's where that bass synth we were looking at earlier. This one, the poly, the multi, the convolution reverb, but that's built into Ableton Live now. So pitch drop. Recreates the sound of a vinyl record slowing down. Okay, I'll try that one at some point. And then it's got some MIDI effects. So this just has a bit of like extra stuff, but I'm definitely... Ooh, I didn't like that one, but... Sounds very 80s. Okay, I'll have to try this one. Okay, so this one... I'm actually going to put this as a favorite, because yeah, I'll be using this one again. The sampler, see, I use a simpler all the time, and sampler does more, but I tend to do, I use a simpler a lot for, I'll just show you here. So yeah, it's my most used device, and it's mostly because if we take a sample of drum loop, so if we take this and we drop it in here, if you go to slice mode here, it's sliced automatically for you. You can move these around if you want to, but this isn't a great example. There we go. We'll try this one. So it's got it all sliced up. So if you want to do that with a vocal loop or anything, any sound you want, and I tend to do this. If you ever use it, just make sure you do this fade out. Put a little bit, sometimes even the fade in. But fade in might affect your transients, but just so it doesn't click. See, you can tell where it's clicking. And you could go into it and, oops, you can go into it and adjust like exactly where it is and everything. But just doing the fade out a little tiny bit will give you a nice sound. But anyways, I use simpler mostly for this, so I don't tend to use a sampler very much, but it's there. So where were were we? Instruments. And tension. See, wavetable I've used. Not a whole lot, but I've used it a little bit. But tension and tension I've used, but again, not very often. So this one basically lets you create a bunch of sounds, and there's the exciter, which will be like you could. This is more like a violin. You can have a hammer that's more like a piano. I don't know what hammer bouncing is. So you're basically having a mix of the exciter, the damper, the termination and the body, which would be like what's in between all of these. And let's just look at these. Yeah, I'll have to sit around and figure out what all of these do, but this is another example where they've added stuff into the preset, so the instrument itself is here. We've got stuff you can do to it, which is really nice too, because you could technically take this preset where it's got these macros, and you could go to, let's say, this banjo and just change here. You don't have to change this whole thing. See, so you'll be able to use, you're able to use these sounds, or these adjustments on a completely different instrument. So anyways, yeah, that's really interesting. So I think that's most of them, right? I might have to do this again and do a little bit more of trying it on an actual track, like my plan was, but I realized I don't think it'll work. I'm just wondering what we could just switch. I'm wondering if we were to take this and we'll do the hi-hat. Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay, so let's see what it sounds like in context. It fits right in, so interesting. I'm definitely gonna look at adding that vinyl distortion, the one we were looking at. I'm gonna add that onto these chords, I think, for sure, because that would be really useful to have. Anyways. Just want to hear this hi-hat again that we just switched. You don't really notice it because it's low in the mix, but yeah, it works, I think. Let's see, do I prefer what was on there though? In this case, I took it just a few seconds to try to fix it up with the other one, but I do like this one better actually. So this one here. Like I said, I'm all into the hi-hats. I could spend most of my time on a track dealing just with the hi-hats and the kick, but and I tend to forget about the snare half the time. Okay, so anyways, that's a bunch of different effects. I hope you were able to learn about a few effects you didn't know were in there, and yeah, I want to thank you for spending some time with me tonight, and yeah, I'm hoping you had some fun, and I hope I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.